can brand awareness do for your business? One of them, which is key, is it's actually foundational to all of your communication. Listening first. If I have a product, if I have a business that doesn't have clarity on a brand yet, I would kind of get validation and listen first and see what people are thinking. So that when I do go out there, I am saying precisely what they want to hear if they're the market that I am after.
Your belief in what is possible has changed. And that's all it takes. I know it's hard for some of you to hear this because I do teach a lot of people how to find their value in the marketplace. But the thing that you need to do is to believe and then do it. That's the secret formula.
Hey, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. Ariel, high five. Bam. Tom SECUYA here, founder of Carve, and we're also the ones doing this show for you guys. This is live right now in multiple channels. Welcome back if you're watching this again, and if you're watching this for the first time, hey. And the reason for this live, which is now going to become a series, is for us to help the country, specifically MSMEs and designers, creatives, artists, to how to rethink what we're doing, their career, their business, and everything. So this got started actually when I had a conversation with a really great guy. His name is Chris Doe, and I asked him, "Look, Chris, is it possible to do this?" And he's like, "Oh, let's do something. Let's go live and let's try to reach as many people as possible and share our ideas and concepts and make sure that they leave with something. They take something away from the live." So if you are currently watching this right now, thank you, first of all. And second, share this live, watch party it, and share it or tag as many people as you can, especially those that you know have run MSMEs and or are in the creative space. Today is special yet again because we have, for the second time around, he's agreed to do this again with us, Chris Doe. Okay, so let me talk about Chris Doe a little bit before we put him on. First of all, he's achieved so many things. Really wild, amazing things. He's worked with really great people, really great clients. Well, to name a few, Microsoft, if you don't know who that is, Sony, Google, Coldplay. I mean, and he's received recognition and awards for these things and every for their track record. And he's gotten an Emmy, he's gotten a Clio, and a whole bunch more. But more importantly, he introduced himself as a recovering graphic designer. Bring him on now. Chris, what's up, man?
How's it going, Tom? Can you guys see me on my green screen? I was trying to work out the key right before the show, but I have children. We're working from home, and I don't want one of them walking by in their underwear going to the shower, and you guys all seeing that. I had a nightmare about that last night.
You're good. You're good. You're okay. It looks really great, and I'm glad you're back. Thank you, Chris, for coming on.
Sure thing.
So, we're using new technology today, and this may allow Chris and I to see currently your chat or your comments. And so we want this to be kind of an open conversation, but we're gonna talk about some stuff today and hopefully dissect somebody's business if he is able to come on. We're still confirming this though, because hardware situations. But
tech issues.
Tech issues, yes. And so, Chris, I've been catching up on the future videos, and you have a series called The Young Guns there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you go round robin with a lot of up and coming young designers from everywhere in the world, which is cool. And last Saturday when we were talking about like our pre-production conversation, you also mentioned that you were doing this with people from Pakistan and people from
India, Africa, and Nigeria.
Africa, Nigeria, and us over here. I just want to understand, because this is, for me, it's very helpful, but like What is your driving force behind this?
My driving force really is because there's this situation that's happening that's impacting everybody on Earth right now. This pandemic that's shut down businesses, and so we're kind of seeing economies all slow down. Maybe with the exception of New Zealand, where they seem to be for a period of time COVID free, but they're back in it again. So we'll see what happens. But I was just thinking, I don't want what we do to be the exclusive domain of Western countries. I want it to be for people in Asia, people in Africa, and everywhere else in between. So I thought I'm going to reach out to my friend Tom, who's got his pulse on what's happening there in the Philippines, and I want to be able to help out people. So the conversation we're going to have today is super specific to what's going on locally. So if you're tuning in from some other place, welcome. We'd love to have you, but we're really going to be talking about the local economy and the creatives that are there and seeing if you and I could do something to help lift up people locally.
Right.
All right?
And
that's the agenda.
That's the agenda. And on the last live that we did, there was like a compilation of questions that we didn't really get to cover. But as I read through it, for everybody watching, if you had a question from before, what we're going to do is, because a lot of those questions are actually answered by Chris in almost all of his content. So what we're going to do is we'll get the video that answers that question and send it to you.
Great.
But then right. And so if that's okay with you, just say yes on the chat and let us know. And also getting everything together, the gist really of a lot of people is the same, pandemic or not. It's really about going out there and getting clients and getting work from everywhere, which is what brought Chris and I to this whole idea of, let's just talk about how to help people make $15,000 a year, give or take. It was really 12, but I felt like we could drive it up to 15. And Chris we could go as crazy as $40,000 a year or more, but we wanted it to be very realistic, and we wanted it to be kind of, a little above average as for living for a Filipino. Chris, you said that we were going to break this down and we were going to kind of talk about the formula. What was on your mind then? Where do we start? Where do we
start? All right. The complaint or the pushback that I usually get with people is, what you're saying doesn't work here. You can't get that, or you have to be X, Y, and Z, and I don't have those things and they're not available to me. So we're going to try to make this localized as possible. So I asked you, Tom, if for a person who's working in the graphic arts, how much money do they need to make annually to survive and be okay? And it varies from country to country. My friend in Egypt said, if you're making $5,000 to $6,000 annually, you're doing pretty good here. I'm like, wow, okay, we can change that for sure. I can help you find a job for $5,000 or $6,000. And so from region to region, it's going to be a little different. Now, you told me, just for the operating conversation, somebody here needs to make about $15,000 US, not pesos, but $15,000 US, and they could survive on that. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And then when we say survival, are they like below the poverty line at 15,000? Where are they?
They won't be below the poverty line. They could actually support a small family, like a family of 3 with that kind of salary.
Good.
Send their kids to school with that kind of.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. And the reason why we came up with this number 15,000, because initially you're like, oh, let's make 80,000. I'm like, I can help you make 800,000 if that's your goal and if that's realistic for you and if you're willing to put in the work. I can help you make whatever you want. But we have to kind of pull it back to reality, because then we're right back into making that same content for people who are not going to be able to relate to this. So I don't want to do that here. So let's work with some constraints. It's going to be, the target goal is $15,000 annually. Okay. And we're going to do some simple designer math. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the $15,000 and we're going to divide it by 10. I'll tell you why 10 later, but we're going to divide it by 10. And that would give us pretty quickly $1,500. Okay. So your target is to make $1,500 a month. Because if you can do that for 10 months straight, you're going to get to 15,000. That makes sense so far, right? That's easy designer math. That's creative math. Super easy. Thanks for writing it up on the board there. All right. So the reason why it's not divided by 12, because somebody's like, well, aren't there 12 months in a year? Yeah, there are. but you have to account for times when you can't work, when you don't want to work, and when you need to take a break. So let's just build into this 2-month downtime. We're just going to lose 2 months because of holidays, for travel, for sick days, for days when there's no work. 10 months. Okay. Now you have to ask yourself, this is the only kind of question I want to throw at the audience here. How many projects do you want to do per month to earn the $1,500? I suggest somewhere between 1 and at most 4. Some people are crazy and like 10. I want to do 10 projects a month. I'm like, okay. And the reason why I caution you to move away from the higher numbers, because it's a volume game at that point. You're going to find out you're going to burn yourself out trying to do 10 projects a month. That's a lot of projects. That's 2.5 projects per week. That's not going to give you time to think, to research, to refine. So let's just say we're going to pick 2. Is that okay, Tom? So basically you're going to do 2 projects per month. So you're going to take this monthly target of $1,500 and you're going to divide it by 2. For me, I would say 1 or less, but okay, let's say 2 to make it a little bit easier to process for everybody.
Right.
You can change these numbers any which way you want, depending on your individual circumstance. I need everybody to know that. So if you divide it by 2, 1,500, you're going to get what? $750. That makes sense. 750 times 2 is 1,500, right? No fancy math so far. Everybody can follow along.
Easy.
So what you have to do is now you have to say, who in the world, not in the Philippines, but who in the world would pay me $750 to do something, and what would that thing look like? Let's go backwards. Let's just figure out, like, what is market rate for things in the creative space that the minimum is $750. It could be much higher than that. The first thing that comes to my mind is what? What can a creative person do for $750? What do you think?
$750 branding
for what?
For one client, 750 US.
To do what?
To do branding. You can do
branding. Okay, perfect. Branding.
Yeah.
Now, branding is big, Tom. Branding is a lot of things. Branding is writing copy. It's figuring out the identity system. It's figuring out the different touch points. That's a lot of work for $750. Let's just say for one logo. Let's make it a really, really simple. And I want to be very selective and careful and precise about the language we're using. So for one logo, you can charge $750 or more. Okay.
Okay.
That's really important there, just to keep that in mind. $750 for a logo. What else can you do? Well, you can design an identity system for $750. Somebody has a logo and they need 3 pieces of collateral. They need a letterhead. Maybe they need some shipping labels. They might want an email signature or something kind of interesting. They might need some social media stuff designed for them, like their icon, their header image, things like that. So if they have a logo, they might need an identity system, and you can do that for $750. Well, they've got a nice logo already. They don't need social media. Maybe they need a brochure, like a 3-page brochure. Not a 3-page, but like a 3-fold brochure. 5-fold brochure is, I think, back in my print days, that's what they were called. Maybe some local businesses, right? Or they need direct mailers where they design cards and they drop in people's mailboxes. That's things that people do. There's a big appetite right now for web design, of course, because during this pandemic, people are figuring out alternatives to brick and mortar services. So they need to set up a web portal to sell stuff, or at least a landing page for their mom and pop, small to medium sized business, SMB, right?
Right.
They need that. Now, those things all could be done in excess of $750 because that would probably be the market price. But something that I'm really big on is social media content, to do content marketing. There's a lot of demand for that. Just on my Instagram account alone, I get propositioned all the time. Chris, can you design our carousels like the way that you do it? I'm like, yes, I can, but you have to afford some money. And the price I keep floating out to them to start for a month, it's going to be $2,500 per month. And
for how many carousels would that be?
8 carousels. One client, 8 carousels. You have to do some writing. You have to scrape their content, and you have to be able to convert it in a aesthetically pleasing way. But essentially, you're doing InDesign or Keynote work for 10 slides, and that's what we're establishing as a market price. And I want to set that price for anybody that wants to do this with me, because I'd love to just give people work who can do this kind of work. That's one thing. You could probably maybe edit a video, do social media cut down. So if somebody like myself has a lot of video content and you reach out to me, like, I can do cut downs for you. I could probably do a couple, like, maybe, well, I guess in our case, it has to be one, because one project right? Or one project that's going to yield $750. So you have to
Right.
kind of think like how many edits or how long the edits are, what it's going to take you to do, etc. And you start to figure out the package price for this. Now we have to
Right.
have some constraints. The constraints that I'm thinking about here is that every idea that we come up with has to be something you can do remotely from afar. Because I need you to reach out beyond the Philippines. I need you to reach out to different parts of America and Europe and Australia and Canada. Because if the economy is moving there, you have arbitrage working in your favor because it costs more to live there than it does in the Philippines. So they can easily afford $750, $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, $10,000 to do something. And you can do that. You can do an illustration, like a t-shirt illustration for $750. For sure you could do that. What else can we do, Tom? What am I forgetting here?
Okay, no, like this is good, right? Like, so it's thinking about, okay, I need to make 1,500 a month. We break it down 2 projects because that's probably the most doable, or like, close to burnout, but not. You're not gonna, it's just the right load of work for a person to do working from home, right? But just for example, for the sake of discussion, Chris,
Yeah.
right? Okay, like $750 easy, right? People would be willing to pay.
Easy.
Where do I find these people? And let's assume that I've already put out my let's say design profile on Behance, and I've already, let's say, curated my Instagram for the work that I've done. Where do I find them?
Okay. The question of let's just say you're a matchmaker, okay? You're an expert matchmaker, and people who are struggling with getting relationships, finding the love of their life, they come to you and you say, "Oh, I'm pretty good at finding you somebody that you're going to fall in love with." Who do you like? Like anybody? Any size, shape? You like dark-skinned people, light-skinned people, straight hair, curly hair, no hair? And they're calling any kind of hair. And then what are you going to do? You're going to be like, you know what? I can't work with you. I just can't work with you because everything will work. So that means nothing will work. So before I can really answer that question is, where do I find these people? What kind of people are we trying to find? So this begins a little bit of, you have to make some decisions. You have to decide. You have to get rid of some options on the table because otherwise you're chasing anything and everything. And this is not going to work. It's just not going to work. Okay?
Well, yeah, okay.
So let's just say you want to design logos because there's a lot of people who need logos right now. Tons.
Yes.
They're easy to find, I think, in my opinion. Okay? So let's say you want to find some logos, right? And you want to be able to make that. So before I help you do that, are you well positioned to be a person who somebody can look at the work that you do and say, yeah, I want to hire this person? So this means we have to look at your social media. We have to look at your web page and your Behance account. And we have to say everything that doesn't fit this description, archive it, hide it, delete it, do something else with it, get rid of all of it. Once you go through that process of being a very good editor and removing all the stuff that doesn't fit that description, you have to ask yourself, and you have to be very honest with yourself, do I have enough examples? Do I have 3 to 5 examples where I think they measure up to the international standard? I'm not talking about the most decorated, award-winning person in the world, but just, do you meet the international standard for good design?
Okay.
This is where it usually breaks down, Tom.
Right. So I had a conversation with somebody who asked, who watches your content actually, and said,
what's this person's name? Let's give this person a name.
Erica. Let's just call her Erica.
Did you make up that name? Okay, Erica.
Well,
Erica.
I watched this episode from Chris where he said, like, exactly what you said right now, like, go into your social media and kind of remove like things that do not like relate to whatever it is that you're offering or whatever it is that you're good at. And like, do I have to remove pictures of my kids and my family time and all that? How do I reconcile that? And you know what? I'm not even certain, because now we're talking, Chris, about not just putting your work out there, but putting in your process, your beliefs, your principles. And to a degree, you even like, who was that guy that you talked about, logo everything, or logo design on Instagram?
Logo Inspirations.
Logo Inspirations. And you see, this is he creatively presents, like there's stuff that are like reboots of certain logos or his approach to certain things. That means a designer would have to think about how to present his skill, not just present his work and how he thinks, right? And this is the challenge. First of all, like my profile, it's personal, and second, how do I kind of finesse, how do I do this, how do I present my work that presents how I do it, not just my work? Because Behance, it's just your work there, right? It shows your folio, but like how to get there, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, you said a whole bunch of different things there. What do you want me to respond to, Tom?
Well, first of all, let's respond to this. Like, should I remove my babies from my Instagram? How do I go about it?
Okay. Yeah. So if you say my clients, my prospective clients, the prospects out there care about my baby pictures, then put it on there by all means. You're going to have to make this decision. And if you can honestly sit there and say, like, when I'm looking for a logo designer, I'm looking for a logo designer with babies. I'm looking for a logo designer who eats ice cream. I'm looking for a logo designer who loves dogs. And if that works for you, man, by all means, do it. Do it. And if you want to be the logo designer for people who have dogs and the veterinary services, do that. Be all about it and live your brand, live your life, live your values. No problem. But there's a good chance that if you're tuning into watching this and you're looking for advice, things are not working. Can we make that presumption that things aren't working for you right now? So if you want something different, you're going to have to go do something you've never done. And I've said this for many years already. Show people what would be interesting to them, not to you. You know, I love comic books. I love limited collection edition vinyl toys. Do you see that on my feed? Do I talk about these things? Because they're changing the conversation away from the thing that I want to be known for. So ask yourself this one question. When I look at my social feed and my portfolio, what's the one thing people are going to remember about me? And if you give them two choices, imagine that they're going to pick the worst of the two. Now, if you look at your feed right now, there's probably 10 choices. And that's what they're going to pick. They're going to pick the worst thing on there and say, that's what you are. And that's the danger.
That's the danger, right?
That's the danger, Erica.
And she just made a comment like, way to go hiding my name.
We don't know if that's your real name.
No, but like, of course, this conversation is kind of heading into a role play situation.
Already?
So I'm gonna but not yet. But like we're still talking about this, or we're just processing it, right?
Okay, so that was just one of the questions. What was you had like 14 questions in it. We got to go one at a time, Tom.
Okay, let's just do one.
Yeah.
So like right now, what we are talking about is presenting your, like if you do that, like you curate your page, remove everything unrelated and really focus, do something different. That's the scenario. It's not enough to just show your work, but also how you do it and how you kind of get there, how you see things around that. Do you agree with that, Chris? And how would one possibly start with that? Because then I'd be at the brink of sharing my secrets, my trade secrets, and how I do it.
Sure. Well,
right.
Let's do this again. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. When you're thumbing through, when you're swiping past different accounts and you see something that's kind of interesting and you go and check out their profile and it's got a bunch of junk on it that you don't like, what happens? You don't follow them.
Yeah.
Or if you see a couple of good things and you follow them and then you see some weird pictures of birds. You see a picture of the kids at the playground. What happens then? You're irritated by that, and you're like, what was this? Where did this come from? And I do this on a regular basis. When I see somebody that I thought I liked, and they start posting weird stuff, I just unfollow them. And you've just now lost a follower. And I understand people do the exact same thing to me. I lose thousands of followers a week on Instagram. Luckily, I still gain way more than that. So that's something you want to think about. You need to apply the same rule that you live your life by to your own account, and you have to do that. And if you can do that, we can make some progress together. Now, when you post your work, who is that really for? Is that for me or is that for yourself? You have to think about that. Like if I talk about me all the time, who's that really benefiting? Well, it's very clear. It's benefiting me.
You, yeah.
Right. It's just benefiting me. And you know what? The world doesn't really care that much about you. Yeah, your mom does sometimes, and your dad probably, maybe never. But, let's be real here. So you have to create something of value to other people. So this is where the teaching part comes in, right? So if you show me the finished logo, that's about you. But if you show me a trick, a tip, how you built the logo, a grid system that you'd use, now that's for me. And if you give me something, I might stick around. I might feel like you know a thing or two, and I like to work with really smart people who are better than me. So I strongly encourage people to look at everything they do through the lens of the prospective customer, the audience that they're trying to build, and saying to themselves, what would be valuable to another human being to give me a little bit of their time? So if you talk about yourself the whole time by just showing your work, yeah, you might get followers, you might get an audience, you might get a potential customer, but I would mix in there something that's going to be valuable to me, the end user, the customer, the prospective client. So to address the fear of, well, I'm showing all my trade secrets. Look, if you're Coca-Cola, if you're Kentucky Fried Chicken, you might have a formula worth protecting with a secret ingredient, a combination of 11 herbs and spices, okay? If you have that, protect it. You're already a world beater anyways. You're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Hallelujah. But here's the thing. You have to ask yourself, what is riskier? To hold on to supposed trade secrets, and I promise you, you know none. I promise you already. If you hold on to your trade secrets where you get no work and you starve to death, that's option A. Option B, you share your process, which everybody already knows pretty much anyways, or they could find out easily from some other source, and get work with the risk of a few people ripping off whatever it is that you've done. That's a choice you have to make. It's a grown-up decision, and I leave you to make that decision for yourself.
Okay. If I decide to do it, how deep should I go?
Well, how deep is your knowledge? How deep is your love?
So, like, what if I just share something I've seen somebody else do? Is that okay? But
why would they want to learn from you? Somebody else did it. Somebody else did it better than you. You're just a ripoff of that person.
You're just brokering. You're brokering knowledge. Because this whole thing,
you're curating. Let's be clear here. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm going to curate. Like, I'm going to redesign something and present it a certain way. Like something I read from a book.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to cite your source and stuff like that. But this is what inspires me. This is what I adhere to. That's something that they can do, right?
Yes, they can do that. We all do that to a degree, because if you think about it, how do I have any ideas in my head? I learned it from some other person. I read it in a book. I watched a video. I attended a workshop. I talked to another human being. They told me something. It was passed on from my father and his grandfather and his, it's passed on to you. This is the beauty of that. Here's something that we run into a lot, especially online. People are a little embarrassed. They want to take more credit for what it is that they did because they're not confident. They're insecure, so they don't cite their sources. They don't tribute and honor the people that gave them the information. But eventually, they just get found out anyways. You're going to get called out. So why even do that? So if you do something in the spirit of helping other people, helping the audience, and helping the author or the creator of the original content by burning in their credit, mentioning them, you actually do yourself a favor, because there's a good chance if it's an author or a speaker, they might be like, oh, this is pretty nicely designed and this is well communicated. I should get this person to design my slides for me at my next presentation. I should get this person to design my book cover for me. I like what they're doing because they honored the content.
Right.
They are trying to support and build my fan following versus trying to take it for themselves. So this act of generosity comes back to you. It's one of the best ways to actually meet your heroes is to honor their content and help them to build their audience. You see the difference between the two, Tom?
I see that. And I've seen you also do it. I mean, do it from the perspective of like you've brought somebody in because you admire their work. They've redesigned your picture, for example, or they made you there's this one, I'm not sure, lady or guy who kind of created an image of your dad for your Father's Day. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. Let me give you a scenario then. Like a scenario. Not yet the role play, but a scenario. Okay, Chris, I've been doing this. I've been sharing my process. I've been getting engagement on my page. All 500 followers kind of enjoy it. They interact. I get like 50 reactions, 10 comments every time I post. And so it's cool. But it's not really converting to clients because they're not following me and they're not the ones getting value from what I share. Where do I go now?
Well, first of all, how do you know that? You've looked up every single profile of the people who engage with your content? I doubt it. So you made up a story. You've told yourself a story. This is where I'm going to get a little thermonuclear on you in a second, right? You told yourself a story because I did X and I didn't get Y. They must be related. So this is confusing correlation with causation, okay? There's a lot of issues here.
Whoa.
Lots of issues here, okay? So let's get into it. Causation and correlation. Correlation is like, it rained and I opened my umbrella. So every time I open my umbrella, I guess it's going to rain. We know that's totally bogus, right?
Right.
We know that's bogus. So we have to kind of say, like, we don't know that much and we're making a lot of assumptions about what is and isn't true. So let's back up 10 steps here and say, look, if I were a client and if I saw this work, are you adding value to my life? Are you teaching me something? Are you improving my life? Are you establishing yourself as an authority? Are you putting out consistently clear, focused messaging? If not, maybe that's the problem. Maybe your client is in that 500 group, but they're confused by what you do. Or you haven't done it enough that they've started to feel like, God, I've just seen this person everywhere and they just do such good work. Maybe that's the case. I can't say, but I'll tell you something. I didn't create my Instagram account to find clients, yet I'm finding clients all the time on Instagram. I didn't go on LinkedIn to try to build a gigantic professional network, yet over 220,000 people follow me on it. I'm like, well, I don't know. People from Google and Amazon. I'm not selling anything. I don't even care.
Hang on.
I just want people to.
220,000 people follow you on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Somebody in Germany told me that. I'm like, holy cow. I didn't even know that.
Whoa.
Yeah. He said to me, and this is how I became aware of this because I wasn't even paying attention. He said, you're the third most followed person in Germany for X. I'm like, yeah, Gary Vaynerchuk is ahead of me by gigantic leaps there. But I'm like, wow, when did that happen? I didn't even know. I'm just making content. And you know how like when you post something on LinkedIn, it can show you like who's looking at the content? You know who's looking at the content? Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Nike. These are the companies. And you know the types of people that are looking at my content are in the management, entrepreneurship, owner position. Now, if I had a product to sell them, I would be doing really well, but I didn't even care. So to tell me that you make content and it's not getting you clients, it's probably a lot of different things, probably not the thing that I'm telling you to do. All right? So let's be clear there.
Right. And it seems like, you know, if we distill this whole conversation down,
yes,
like from the time when people started like the printing press, and actually realizing that they can write stuff or manuscripts or books to share out there, I don't think they were thinking of selling their service and what they do by putting the knowledge out. What they wanted to do was to put the knowledge out and probably also be known for knowing that piece of knowledge. Almost like what you're saying is we apply that exact same principle now in the way that is digital and on the platforms that are available to us. Just put what you know out there, put what you believe in, put what your principles are, and you know it happens like that.
No, I
220.
actually I want to be more precise than that. Okay, I don't want to get into the Gutenberg analogy here because it can get very sticky. Right? I think I understand what you're saying, but it can get a little dicey there with that analogy. But I don't. You know, it's important that you have beliefs and values and knowledge. But at the end of the day, is it valuable to somebody that you want to attract? Right? Let's just say that you make the most delicious chocolate covered almonds, and you're trying to attract me and have a nut allergy. I don't care how good your chocolate covered almonds are, right? You have to do something that's valuable to the people that you want to talk to. You want to build a relationship with them. This is really important. Shift the focus away from you and what you want and shift your focus on the people that you'd like to build a relationship with, and the world can change for you. Right? So if you're like really active politically, hey, if that's what you want to do that. But if the people you want to talk to get turned off by that, realize that's the cost. Conversely, if you're not active politically and the people that you want to work with are very active politically, that will turn them off. You have to sit there and think, like, who do I want to fall in love with me right now? And I want to build that relationship by offering them things that they would appreciate.
Is
that clear, Tom?
It's super clear. It's all
right.
seemingly so simple, right? So
It can be.
Like, how do you want to make $15,000 a year? You have to make $1,500 a month. Divide that into 2 projects, $750 a piece. What would be the composition of that project that then translates to what skills do I need to have or present out there? Then I just build content, talking about that, and talking about that, my perspective, my opinion, or I'll just curate something that I've seen. And then it will translate to you attracting the right people for that job, which fits into the 750 marker that you need for 2 months, for 2 projects for a month. Cool. Okay. So let me introduce you to the role play.
Okay, before you do that, I want to teach people how to build a relationship with their mentors or their heroes. I should say heroes, not mentors, because a mentor has to actively do something with you. And I started to think about this. Almost everybody that's been in my life in the recent years has been in my life because they first came to me in some fashion by offering something that I would find to be valuable. I just did a live stream with Jose Caballo earlier today. And I remember the reason why he and I started working together is because when I asked him a simple question, which was, how are you managing and designing websites that work? Because what I'm doing is not working at all. Instead of him saying, I'm going to charge you X dollars for consulting, I want to bill you at X, Y, and Z, he said, you know what, let me just show you. If you got a project in the wing, let me just help you run it and I'll show you. And that began a 2+ year business partnership, which still extends into today. Ben Burns, he reached out to me on the internet. He's like, dude, I've gotten so much value from you. How can I help you? I need to give some of it back. And now Ben Burns is our chief operating officer. He's been a he's been with us for years now, right? One more relationship. A young gentleman, I didn't know who it was because you can't tell who people are on the internet. He started to write these amazing summaries in our YouTube channel. And he commented on the videos. And I thought, wow, whoever this person is, he's super smart. And I asked Ben, put this person to work. Now this person works for us. His name is Alex. It works like that. So when you're focused with who you want to work with and you start to think like, what would be valuable to this human being? Do that. There's another guy. His name is David Tallis. He joined the pro group. And he said, Chris, I've noticed some things about your Instagram account. I can help you grow. And I was like, I don't want to talk to you. And he said, I've grown 2 accounts past 100,000 followers already. I'm like, all right, let me do a call with him. And now he's been able to help me on certain things. I've been able to help him. And then he recently launched an Instagram knowledge product, and he's doing really well. I think he's going to do something like $350,000 this year.
Woo.
All of it was born from the spirit of generosity, of truly wanting to help another person and letting the cards fall where they may. No expectations. Now, I don't want to tell you this for you to jump to the conclusion. If I reach out to people to offer to fake help them, it's going to turn into a job. If you do that, people can smell that a mile away. People are very good at sniffing out hidden agendas. You're not that clever. Let's do the role play.
Okay. Before we do that, though,
Yeah.
like this whole story is triggering a lot of memories for me.
Okay.
And this is exactly how we met, like how you were talking about Jose and Ben and David, was it? I messaged you. I messaged you on Facebook, and I said, Chris, this is cold messaging too. Like I had no idea. I just said, Chris, I've learned so much from your content, and I think it's allowing me to turn our business around, like pivot the whole thing. And I said, I'd love to just meet you. And then we went into a Skype conversation. And then the next thing that happened was you posted an intern job. And I'm like, hey, I'll be your intern, dude. Like the whole team will be your intern. Can we do that? And this was around the time that you were launching The Future. It was gaining, like, it was like opening season of The Future.
Yep.
And I think our task was to curate the YouTube comments that you need to respond to, or things that we can respond to for you, and also kind of design the thumbnails, etc. And so I just, that's how we met, and that's also how we got to this point today, because I said, hey, Chris, do you still need help in translating your Instagram stuff? And you said, Tom, we're good with that because we automated. So guys, prepare to also be, whatever you're offering, it may be shut down. And it's not because you suck at it, but because it's already been serviced, it's already been provided for. So Chris went and said, look, we already use a digital, or like an app for that, to do that. And so thank you. But maybe what we can do is a couple of lives. And I'm like, sure. And that's what got us here. And this is very good foundational stuff for the role play. By the way, AJ is on and he's ready. And we're going to get to that point after this role play. So here we go. Let me introduce you to this guy called Juan. And
Juan.
he is the Filipino, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Chris, you already know we're going to get into some mindset stuff right here, because there's this cultural thing that I'm going to represent here.
Sure.
And you gave me fair warning, and it's totally cool. I'm ready. I'm primed. Okay. So Chris, I'm just going to take on, because everybody that we said on the last show that would volunteer themselves backed out, right? And to me, that's also
give context to what we're talking about. You want me to give the context?
No, I can give it.
Okay, we'll give the context, because we can't assume everybody watched it and they watched that far into it.
Right. So the context was this: I said that one of the contentions of people is that, Chris, I've done everything you taught and it's not working for me. So Chris said, okay, I guarantee that you have not done it, or if you have not done it right, and I am willing to give you a coaching session worth $1,000 if you have done it right, and I'm wrong about you. But if I am right, then you're gonna have to pay me $100. And then about 15 people said me, like I'll volunteer myself for that so that I can, and I said we'll bring them on, and they backed out. And I'm like,
they all backed out. Every single one of them backed out.
Every single one backed out.
Now, were you surprised by that, Tom?
I will say yes and no. I would say yes and no, because I thought, okay, they're progressive enough, they're decided enough to do it, and that's commitment. That's awesome. But like, what happened between then and the time that we reached out and they backed out? So this is partly because of how we see things and how we are, right? And so that would be part of this whole Juan, the Filipino, right?
Yeah, that wasn't super clear to me. So you were surprised, right, that they backed out?
I was surprised, yes, because they made a public declaration of it.
Right.
And then,
okay, so what happened? What do you think happened? Because here's what I think. When I say I'm going to give $1,000 worth of my time to coach you, they're like, oh, we can't refuse that offer. And we've done what you said. They were very confident in the moment, because I was shocked to hear 15. I thought maybe 2 or 3 people might say that. And 15 people said it. I'm like, wow, okay. I don't want to take $1,500 away from the Philippines. My whole thing was I want to deliver value. And then something happened. And I think they had to take a hard look at themselves to say, if Chris is going to judge me and my efforts, if they are lined up with what he told me to do, and if it doesn't, I run the risk of losing $100. Now, $100 means a lot more to you than it does to me. But I was still giving you 10-to-1 odds, meaning if you thought you had a shot, roll the dice and play the game with me. But each and every single person. And I knew this was going to happen because I can almost guarantee it that if you do exactly what I tell you to do, to the spirit in which I tell you to do it, and you do it right, you're the other kind of people I talk to, which is, Chris, I just made $2,000. I just built $30,000. I can't believe it. I've quadrupled my income this year. You see, I only hear from two sides. The side that does what I say to do and wins, and the side's like, it never works. I don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't work. But here's the thing. I'm the same person transmitting the same message out into the universe. How is it that the same message can go out and hit different humans and have completely different results? What do you think that is, Tom?
Gee whiz. No idea.
Now you know. Go ahead. Tell me why that is. Why is it that I can send the same message? For some people, it's going to be transformative. They're going to double, triple, and some people have even 10x their income. While other people are like, nah, this guy's a sham. This doesn't work. I tried. There's something missing. What's the problem? The difference is the people who listen and say, yes, I can do this, wind up doing it. And the people who listen like, no, this cannot happen. Guess what? They manifest their own reality into place. They don't give it the true effort. They don't follow every step. They cut corners. That's the difference.
So what you're saying is they're talking it, but they're not walking it.
I don't even know if it's that. I think they've self-sabotaged before they even started. I think in their heart, their mind, and their spirit, they think they're doing it. But they've already convinced themselves subconsciously that this is not going to work. And it's not going to work. Like if you go door to door and you try and sell something like a subscription to magazine, and you tell yourself nobody's going to buy, you knock on the door, it's like, oh, you want to buy this? No, okay. And you go down there every single street and nobody buys from you. You're like, see, I told you nobody wants to buy a magazine. Some other person's like, I'm going to not quit until I sell something on the street because people need these magazines. I'm saving them a lot of money. Knock on the door, totally different results.
And this is what
you have to believe it.
You have to believe it. And this is something that you shared on a conference, and you have a video about it as well. Guys, again, let me just tell you, check out The Future on YouTube. Almost everything that Chris knows is on there. Everything he's done is on there. If you want the formula, the full version of this, you want a roadmap, go to that place. But the thing is, you could consume all this content all day long. And if you do not believe it, you do not believe in what you're trying and what you're doing, it's never going to go anywhere. It stops with you. It starts with you. It stops with you. It starts with you. It stops with you, right?
Mostly, yes.
So
there are some things that are out of your control. Like, for example, the internet goes down or AJ has technical issues. Some things are out of your control. But for everything else, take responsibility for it. Take accountability. That's what matters.
Sink your teeth into it and do it. You already know what to do, guys. Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you this, right? I believe in this in my heart. I know this. If I were to take 20 average students, designer, creative people who wanted it so bad but needed a little instruction, a year later, if they spent a year with me, what do you think would happen to those people? Are they going to be right where they're at today, or are they going to be much better off? I'm pretty confident I can do this with them. If they're willing, if they have that Karate Kid Daniel San attitude, where it's like, you know what, Mr. Miyagi, I got to do this because I'm tired of getting my butt kicked by Cobra Kai. I'm ready to do this with you. I'm like, if you submit, if you commit, if you persist, if you're resilient, we can do this. But you have to want it. So you have to ask yourself, how bad do I want this thing? How bad do I want a better life? How bad do I want to support my family, my parents, my siblings? How bad do I want it so that somebody that I care about can go to school, or somebody can retire from working in unfavorable conditions? How bad do I want that? If you want it bad enough, I can help you.
And I totally agree. And look, Chris, a little bit of appreciation. I see you as a mentor, right? I stole you as a mentor. You don't like when I consume your content, I see you as my mentor. You're teaching me, you're showing me the way. Master Uguay right here, right? And so I see Ben Burns as that, Matthew Encina as that, and I watched a bunch of episodes about proposals and case studies and stuff. And we already do this. And I wanted to take it to a whole new level. And I said, like, is there more of this? And then there's available content that I could get on the future website itself. And I went in, and this is when I told you, dude, you hustled me into buying this thing, right? But look, I wanted to bring our game to a whole new level, and I know that you guys are coming from 25 plus years of experience with the heavyweights that you've dealt with and the intense projects that you've done. And we bought the thing. We bought it, we consumed it, and now we're restructuring the way we do proposals and case studies. So it cannot stop with us just consuming the stuff from YouTube and calling you our mentor. We have to take action and do something about
100%.
it because we already know. We already know you already taught it. Now it's time to do it. Execute. You can't, you can be outperformed. You could be out-knowledged or whatever you call outsmarted, but you can't be outworked. Like you gotta go hustle out there, right? So let me take it to Juan. All right, Chris, I'm Juan. Nice to meet you.
What's up, Juan?
I need some advice. Need your help because you're a genius in this space.
Flat will get you nowhere. Let's go.
So I'm a designer. Been doing this for 5 years. Worked with different companies and brands and businesses. And I also have a page that's really dedicated to my work, and I show my process there. And I'm getting good engagement, but I have not converted to a single client from that yet, although there have been inquiries, right? So my folio is on Behance. I have a YouTube channel, which I patterned with you, and I kind of share what we do. And so now where I'm stuck is there's so much competition, and I am unable to get my pricing to $750. How do I do this? When I am fighting against a $50 logo or a $20 or a $30 website, and I'm fighting against resources from Ecuador or Europe or Costa Rica or the US, and I'm over here, Filipino.
All right, let me ask you a question, okay? Can you restate your question?
I'll restate my question.
Yes, because you told me a whole story, and then you told me a question, and then you just kept talking. So what is your question? I'd love to help you.
My question is, Chris, how do I get them when the competition is so tough without having to do a price dive?
Okay. How do I get them? Who are they?
My clients, which I have identified as coffee shops. I specialize in content for coffee shops now.
Okay. Coffee shops, whereabouts?
Well, I've done a coffee shop on a national level. I've done a coffee shop that's in Southeast Asia, and maybe two from the Western Hemisphere, right?
Okay.
So it's a combination of some I do branding for, some I do Instagram posts for, and one maybe that I did a website for. So
okay, and of these clients that you're working with abroad, how much is the average size engagement in terms of dollars?
500 a month.
Oh, 500 a month?
Right.
Okay. Is what you're doing worth more than $500?
I don't know, Chris, because I tried because I watched your piece of content where you said charge 10K, and I believe that I could charge $1,000, just double, right, to a place of a little bit of discomfort, and I did it, and I lost all of them. None of them became a client, so I had to go back to 500 to actually just try and get somebody through the door.
Okay, fair enough. First, I want to applaud you for applying the things that you've learned. Perhaps it's a little tweak here and there that we can make to help you get where you want. Let me first just restate the question back to you, okay? So the problem I usually struggle with is when people ask me an unclear question, I'm going to give them an unclear answer. So I spend a lot of time just trying to figure out, what the heck do you want? What is it that you want? What does it look like? So the first way you phrased it, when I wrote this down, correct me if I'm wrong, how do I get them? Because there's too much competition without lowering my price. And if that's the question that you're asking yourself and trying to find an answer for, do you see any problem with that kind of questioning?
I don't. It's what I've always done before. Try to get clients.
Right. Well, I want to point out to you, if I ask you, how do I get them? Because there's too much competition without lowering my price. What kind of information have you given me or I've given you? Isn't that super vague? How do I get them? Because there's too much competition. There's so many holes in this question. That's probably why I had to ask you some more questions. So what you're saying is, how do I work with international coffee shops that need one of three services: Instagram posting, branding, or website, for more than $1,000 a pop? You see, now when you phrase the question that way, you're able to attract the right answer to you. You follow so far? So I want to help you think through your questioning, because a question well formed is 50% of the solution already. How do I be inspired? That's the weirdest, broadest question. But how do I figure out how to install a bookshelf that looks cool with a modern style? So the more specific you are with the question, the more likely you are to find an answer that you're looking for. You might get lucky. Okay. So now I know a lot of things, that you're working with coffee shops internationally, and I already can see the first problem. When you first said to me, I make content, super vague, super broad again, and Instagram content, you do branding, which I assume is logo and copywriting and a lot of design services. And then you do web design, which is a whole nother skill set. Are you the Filipino Michelangelo, Juan? Or Da Vinci?
I'm the Filipino Swiss knife designer. I'm trying. I'm just trying to get by, and I've found myself having to deploy a bunch of different skills towards a more strategic role.
I got it. Have you ever heard of the law of concentration? You know what the law of concentration? So let's talk about it, right? The law of concentration is you have finite energy, money, time, and resources. The more thinly spread out you are, the less likely you are to achieve any real result. But if you take all of your energy, all of your time, and all of your resources and money, and you put it towards one thing and doing one thing really well, there's a much higher percentage of you actually doing something that's meaningful to you and your client. Because what we're talking about are very distinctly different skill sets. Someone who's very good at doing Instagram content probably sucks at web design. And just because you know how to do design and development for web and user experience design doesn't mean you know jack about making a really good logo. So you're either way super talented, or you've made the cardinal sin of creative people, which is to diversify all of your skill set across 100 different things. And we know this. When the world's looking for the best Instagram content creator, I hope they call me, but they're probably not going to call you. If the world's looking for the best branding people, they're probably going to call Collins or Sagi Haviv, and so on and so forth. You see the problem here is you're trying to be all things to all people so that you end up being nothing to anyone. Focus. Focus is your friend. Do one thing, do it 1,000 times, do it for put in your 10,000 hours, and you're going to get good at it. Okay. So we need to focus, okay? Now, I know you want to say something. Just hold your horses, okay?
Yes.
Hold on to those horses. Don't be so quick to respond. I need you to just listen and understand what I'm saying, all right? Of the three things you mentioned, Instagram content, branding, and web design and development, or whatever, web design, which one are you paid the most for that you have the least amount of friction when you try to sell? Which one?
with the coffee shops, it's a logo,
You didn't even say logo, so it's the branding stuff? Logo,
Branding
logo
stuff.
and packaging?
yes, logo and packaging.
Okay, how much do you make when you're on an average job? What's an average size job when you do logo and packaging for coffee shops?
500.
Okay, when you do Instagram content and website, what is the average size job?
Probably less, like 300.
Okay, so it can already tell you the same human being with the same amount of creativity gets paid less for the same amount of work. It's telling you already, the market's telling you you need to go somewhere else. You need to do the logo and branding stuff, yeah?
Yes,
That makes sense. Did that help you to eliminate some of the things from your life?
it is.
So
but
go ahead.
it is, but like the reason I've gotten into content and other things is they are recurring needs versus a logo is like one time. And so that's where I found myself, right? I did 2 logos in a month, and then after that, there's nothing that follows that.
Right.
So I had to offer something that repeats itself so that I can continue to generate income in the same industry, which I
Right.
learned that I need to specialize in an industry.
Okay. So you do realize when you said branding encompasses way more than just a logo. It includes packaging and menu designs and anything that requires an extension of the brand, signage. And so you're saying with a growing coffee shop, they don't need more stuff, labels, containers. Oh, they have a different roast. They need a design for that. So you're saying they don't need that, or they do need that?
They need it, but like they need it one time. I mean,
Okay.
I've not received like there's a couple of here and there. I need you to design like let's say a wayfinder or like a table talker.
Yep.
But it's one off, and it's like $100, $50 here, 200 there. You know.
Okay. So let's address one problem at a time.
Yeah.
If you were the world's top 20 logo and branding person for coffee shops, do you think you would have enough work?
If I was like top 10,
Top 100.
top 100, I'd still get enough work if
I
I
think
were
so.
top 100.
If you were top 100, what do you think your price per project would be?
Easily double what I'm charging now.
You can
Some
add a
people-
couple of zeros to what you're charging now.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what you're saying to me, what it sounds like is, I don't have enough work doing this, so rather than get better at it, I'm going to do something else. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm thinking of an immediate solution, but what it seems to be like what you're saying is work on getting known as being one of the top 100 versus trying to get clients. Is that what you're saying?
Is that what you're hearing?
That's what I'm hearing.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm hearing. So I think it's what I need to do, Chris.
Okay, why are you hesitant? Why is that not an emphatic yes? Why not just say absolutely 100%? Why do you think about that?
Because I doubt myself.
What are you doubting about yourself?
Because I think there's a lot of people who have the right skin for this and have way better work than me. And like it's so cringy for me to say, "Oh, I'm one of the top 100." It feels weird.
Okay. Do you believe you're the top 100 today?
I think so.
Well, which is it? Are you or are you not? You just told me 1 second ago that it's cringy to even think that you could be in that top 100.
Right. I know I'm part of the top 100, but it's cringy for me to say it. Like it's cringy for me to
Okay.
declare it to the world.
Why? Do you hate yourself?
I don't. But like, I don't know. I think, who am I? I'm
You're who? I'm the coffee guy.
I'm just this guy.
And so who am I? I'm just this guy.
But you're so accomplished, Chris. You've
Okay.
done crazy work.
All right, right. And so who was I when I graduated school? Who was I before I graduated school? Who was I when I was still in high school? Everybody starts at zero, man.
So are you saying I need to embrace this and live up to it really, and just say it and like believe in it?
Hey man, I don't want to tell you to do anything that you don't want to do. If you love coffee, if you think you're good at it, if you think you're top 100, anything else that you do against that is a betrayal to who you are. But that's for you to decide, not for me to decide.
All right. So what you're okay? The conversation.
I'm not saying anything. All right. By the way,
I know, but the conversation seems to have gotten into who I am versus how to get the clients. Is it? Are you saying that it's really about me and inside of me?
What is your question? What is inside of you? You're using abstract language again.
It's not about the activity that I have to do. It's not about the process that I have to kind of take onto, but it's more about how I see myself.
No, it's everything. If you think about it, you think something, then some words are gonna come out of your mouth based on what you think, right? So it begins with what you think. It translates itself into what you say, and then that manifests itself into what you do. So if you say to yourself, from this day forward, I'm going to do everything in my power to put myself on the global stage as the top 100 logo and branding people for coffee shops. I'm going to do everything in my power to get there. Then that's going to dictate the actions that you take. It's going to force you to decide, is this me moving towards my goal or moving away from my goal? So doing web design, is that moving me towards my goal or away from my goal? Away.
You don't understand, Chris. I'm a Filipino, and people don't even believe in what we do, really. Like when I tell my family, look, I've never got an affirmation, right? When I tell my family I'm a designer, they go, what is a designer? So like to take a step of working towards really living up to being top 100, it's a lot.
Hey man, let me ask you something. This is going to be like some tough Asian love on you here. It's going to be some Asian on Asian crime in a second.
Woo!
Do you know what's inside your heart? Do you know what you want in your life? Do you know if you're an honest, trustworthy person who has integrity? Do you know this about yourself or no?
What I know is I want to make a living and be able to buy rice for my family.
No. Answer my question. Do you know that you're an honest person, that you're trustworthy, that you have integrity?
I know this.
Do you need 100%. Somebody else to tell you this?
I don't.
So why are you asking for permission from other people that I don't have enough validation in my life? How old are you, man?
22.
You still like a little baby? Do I need to tell you when to eat and when to shower and to brush your teeth? Do I need to tell you that?
No, you don't. Dude, you're like a...
So maybe you don't want this. Maybe you don't want this, man. Maybe you want to be a dentist or something.
No, I want it. No,
you don't, because you're asking for other people to give you permission to do something.
I'm not asking for permission.
Let me ask you something. You ever skip school?
I have.
Of course you have. Have you ever snuck out of the house to go to a party with a friend?
I have. I'm not proud of it.
Did you ask for permission each of those times? Did you raise your hand to the teacher? Teacher, tomorrow I'm going to pretend to be sick. I'm going to skip this class. Is that okay? No, of course you didn't. Did you go and leave a note for your parents? Tonight, I'm going to sneak out of the house. I just want to let you know in advance. No, you just did it. You just did it. So which person are you? Are you the person who goes after what they want and doesn't ask for permission? Or are you the person who's waiting for permission from people to be able to do what it is that you want? Maybe you don't want it.
Okay, I got it. Woo! I'll take it. Woo! Thank you, Uncle Chris, for this super, I've been whipped around, everybody. I hope this was helpful.
Are you sure? All right, we can wrap it up.
No, I'm fairly certain it is, because this is kind of the mentality that we have to go through, and
sure.
And we're very submissive as a race. You're
not. You're not. If you keep repeating that, you will be. You got to stop that talk.
No, exactly, and that's what I took on in that role play.
Sure.
So that we could break it apart and just. I think that one of the key points that I really that really struck me is that you don't need somebody's permission or affirmation even. You just need to know what you want, and learn how to get there, which is what we're doing, and do it. But it starts with that, like just really believing and saying, like, look, we're good at what we do. I'm good at what we do. I'm good at what I do, and I can help you.
Now, before we go down this path, because I know some people watching this are going to say, well, Chris is just blowing hot air up their butt, right? I'm not telling you to lie to yourself. I'm not telling you to be dishonest with yourself. There's a good chance that Juan is not top 100, not even close. I don't want to burst that bubble for Juan in this role play, but there's a good chance he's not. Because if you're top 100 of anything, you're not charging $750 or $500 for something. You are not. People flying you with a helicopter to get your ideas and not even get you to make anything. So clearly, Juan is not top 100. Clearly, all right? So what you have to do is be honest with yourself to say, I have this passion, I have this dream. I don't have the skill set yet. That's a critical word, yet, but I will get it by hook or by crook. Whatever I got to do, I'm going to get there. You watch me. Not today, but tomorrow. I'm going to work on it. So I didn't start my company and saying, you know what, we're going to be a bi-coastal office working with clients from all over the world, multi-billion-dollar brands. I didn't say that. I didn't say to myself, I'm going to start this company and I'm going to be working with one of the top pop bands in the world. I didn't say that. Right? But what I did was I worked every single day to acquire the skill set, to put myself in a position so when the opportunity knocked, I was prepared. And I put my head down nose to the grindstone, and I worked at it every single day. And every day I asked myself the same questions. What could you do better? Go learn that thing. Didn't wait for anybody to give me permission. And if I screwed up, and I screwed up a lot of times, I asked people to forgive me and to help me. Sometimes they didn't on both accounts, and sometimes they did. And you learn from it.
Victory.
I think there's this attribute that is often associated with Americans. And, I'm ethnically Vietnamese. I was born in Vietnam, refugee to America, but I guess my thinking is American. So they said that this American entitlement, this aggressiveness that we see, it's something that's bred in. I'm not so sure, because if you talk to my parents, they don't think or talk like anything like this. You have to convince yourself, I want this thing. I'm willing to do anything I can to achieve this thing. And I made the decision, I'm going to go to art school, regardless if I had any financial support whatsoever. And I went for it. Luckily, I had some support, so that worked out fine for me. But that grit, that determination, the ability to have a dream, but to work for it every single day to improve yourself on a daily basis, that's what's going to make you top 100. Back to you, Tom.
Victory loves preparation. And, Chris and I were talking about this. And by the way, AJ is on here, Chris.
Should we've
gone overtime. And with your, if I was going to say with your permission, but I'm just going to take that back and say, are you cool to continue with the next section?
Let's do it.
All right. So I called our next guest, AJ, who's like one of our legendary super designers in the Philippines. And as the pandemic took place, he also he kind of lost some business, gained some business. So I asked him if he could come here, and we're going to try and share screens so that we can show what he's done on Instagram, Facebook, and his website, so that we can talk about what he's done to adapt and like what he's taken from what you've taught, and hopefully find some missing pieces, or actually say, hey, this is exactly what I was talking about. So without further ado, I'd like to bring AJ on. Can we bring AJ on, guys? AJ Di Marukot in the house.
You guys see me?
Yep, we can see you loud and clear. What's up, man?
I can't see you guys. Oh, there it is.
Oh, hey, AJ.
Hey, what's up? I've been listening. I've been wanting to say something. I'm like, hold on, do this.
You want to role play with Juan some other time?
Yeah, some other time.
Jay, little bit of context here. AJ is, again, like a designer and also an entrepreneur, everybody. And we brought him on, and we want to kind of, from the content side of it, or what Chris talks about, kind of go through what he's done. Jay, how did you adapt to the crisis, and what has happened to you over this period?
Oh, we're gonna go right into it, huh?
Let's get right into it.
Well, in some of my Instagram posts, you'll see that I work with like apparel companies, and at least in like maybe in the lower part, you're showing the top part, which is a lot of passion project work. I worked with US-based clients for the last 12 years, and one of my biggest like clients or accounts was in the apparel industry, and their clients were like all these malls and all these retailers like the Targets and Walmarts. And as you know, everything is closed down. So I had lost like more than 50% of essentially my business. And at the beginning of the lockdown here, I believe it was March or April. And so the first few weeks, I really, I was out of it. We were just watching Netflix for 2 weeks. and so I realized at that point that we had to do something. And my wife and I, we talked, and how are we gonna? It came to a point where how are we gonna pay for the rent, or the mortgage? How are we gonna be sending kids to school? The good thing was that a lot of these companies, that you had to pay bills for, they had to delay. They also delayed all their payments for like a couple of months, like 3 months, which was good. But the other part is, so how do I get some money on coming through? So the few things that we started to. The funny thing was my wife started selling eggs. She started selling eggs, and things that I tell people here in the Philippines is how to make money online is sell physical products. You sell your services, and both of those things I've done. Third is you sell your knowledge, which Chris does a lot of, from products, the future products, to his masterminds or his monthly pro group. It's essentially access to his knowledge and his experience. Although he does give it away for free to with all those videos on YouTube. But that's something that I haven't really done, which I'm kind of learning from you guys, from Chris, and all these people who are creating knowledge-based products. And so, yeah, that was the first thing. And the first thing that we did, my wife and I run a little clothing line. And so that was really not moving along at all because everything was closed. Nobody was buying products. We didn't have any t-shirts for sale at that point. And then we realized that we had a whole library of designs from the past, and said, why don't we sell these designs on masks? Because a lot of people now, it's required to wear masks. And so we discovered quickly that we had a gold mine of an income stream that we weren't tapping until that point, because a lot of people were buying all these masks all of a sudden. And so that was the first thing that I had to do. Is I already had work from the past that I could just immediately monetize and transform into a product, which is selling a physical product. But I had already done the work in the past in our catalog. And also my wife literally selling whatever we can, and her selling eggs just to help out, This is the typical trying to make ends meet, But I also also apply the things that I teach in terms of selling services and where to find work. And you guys you asked this from Chris already, and I constantly look for work. And the two places that I found like really great leads without going into like the Fivers or the Upworks of this world is LinkedIn and Twitter. Twitter, I just search every day, every time, whenever I can. There are a lot of people posting job leads over there. So this is the side of selling, selling your services, right? So you essentially look for people who need your service. And so every time on Twitter, I just search, I'm looking for an illustrator, looking for a designer. And during this COVID, I had landed a gig that was based in Spain, and that was a really nice income. That was one. And then the other one was, this is more like working on something, on a certain passion project, and then sharing it to the world. So essentially, I guess, kind of like what you guys are doing, creating content and then sharing it wherever your social media, all your pages and whatnot. So I had started this list of like graphic designers and creatives here in the Philippines who had lost gigs, and I just put them in a Google sheet, and I shared it to like on my Twitter and LinkedIn, and hopefully whoever needs a designer or a writer and editor, check this list out. Maybe you can find somebody you can hire. And when I kept sharing that on LinkedIn, somebody in the US then approached me and said, hey, we're trying to build out a team in the Philippines out there, and this is exactly what we need. And so I had a conversation with that guy, and we've started actually, building out a team here and giving people some real gigs and real jobs. And now I have to search like 3 production designers. I have to search for, maybe 5 senior designers to get real, gigs during this time. And so those were the 2 things that I really like focused on, is continue to look for the work, and then sharing work that isn't really getting you paid immediately, which is what I did with the list of designers. Kind of like, that was my gift. I was trying to help people, right? And then it literally landed some, I don't know how, but it just literally landed some opportunities. So these 2 gigs that I got during this time, it still doesn't like cover like this major client that I had lost, but it really, really got me close to that. And so, plus my wife now selling, all these products and these masks, and it's really helping out. So yeah, those are the things that's really helped me right now. So we can dive into any of them, or I don't know if that's clear for you guys.
It's clear. And AJ, thank you for sharing your story and the hustle that that you did. I'd like to hear Chris's thoughts on that whole thing.
Okay, so AJ, you're a well-respected, well-known person who's been doing this. You've been in the game a long time yourself, right? And certain unforeseeable circumstances like this pandemic has hit people in ways that they didn't even know. So it's not even like you can really prepare for this. There are some things that you could have, but not unless you're Nostradamus, you're not going to be able to prepare for something like this. And coupled with you losing some major clients, it's forced you to figure out like, how can I adapt to what's going on? So rather than me just give you random thoughts, is there something I can do to help you? Like, what's on your mind?
I'm a bit like Juan. I had really come from a place of I'm not good enough. I'm shy. It's cringy to put yourself in a place that's higher than what you are. And these things that I'm already doing at this point, like I'm sharing, I'm talking on conferences. At that point, I'm still pretty much not at the level of where I think I could be in terms of telling people my story or teaching people or guiding them through this whole process. Or for example, what's blocking me right now is getting into the knowledge business of selling what I know. Although I've started a workshop last year of like how to become an online Filipino worker. Chris, if you've heard of, I don't know if you've heard of the term OFW. It means an overseas Filipino worker, which is such a common person out there in the world trying to make money for their family back home in their here in the Philippines. And I'm trying to twist that around and and create a new meaning, which is the online Filipino worker, which isn't the term that I created, but I've seen it floating around. But I wanted to own in terms of like how creatives can be online Filipino workers, or OFWs is what we call them.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, you are working in the Philippines, making income like you guys are talking about, 15 grand a year, which is so doable. And that's what I want to champion and teach people how to do in terms of the creative. But I'm still not at the point that's comfortable as you guys say being in front of the camera and just owning that and speaking my truth and telling people about that story and being in this new environment of videos, like podcasts and all these things. When we started like the whole thing with Zoom and like I'm like, no, I'm never gonna do video on Zoom, right? So this is typical. I think this is typical of me and at least culturally, which what you're saying, don't say that because that's gonna be your truth.
Yeah.
So, well, people know me now. I'm kind of out there, right? People kind of see me. So some people know and see me, but at that level, I'm still like pretty shy. You know what I mean? I'm still not like Tom is very, just can talk for the whole time. So yeah, that's really my struggle and my that's where I'm at.
So, what do you think the real challenge is for you, given what's going on right now? Mm-hmm.
I think the real challenge is just really doing it. Yeah, like a lot of the times when I do stuff, I try to like I want to be able to get to a level to put myself at a level where I can say, yeah, I can do that, or like, yeah, I can do videos, I can do online videos. But the block in my head, and I think which the block with a lot of people's heads here in the Philippines is, who are you to even try this? Who are you? Why are you even doing this, right? Why are you even trying to speak this like you're some form of guru or like you're some expert, right? So I think it's such a typical that has been my struggle my whole life.
Okay.
People telling me you're not good enough for something, or you're not this person because you don't have a college degree. You didn't study for design. It's a lot of those in my head. It's a lot of those.
It's a lot like
Right.
Juan.
It's a lot like Juan, but I
Juan.
think I'm like Juan maybe 20 years from now and kind of getting away from that mindset. But still at this point where I'm at, I'm still there's a shadow of doubt, behind in my head. Despite all these things that I've sort of achieved in what I've done, it's still there.
Okay, I have a bunch of observations here, so let me see if I can help out with some of the things. Okay. If you don't mind sharing with us, how old are you?
I'm turning 45 this year.
45.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're still younger than me. I'm 48. Okay, I'm hitting 50 pretty soon. So a guy who's younger than me, who tells me he doesn't like technology, he's pushing all this stuff away, like age is the state of mind. I want you to be the youngest 45-year-old person. I need you to think like a young person. And young people, they don't look at oh, I've got to get onto Zoom. They don't say I have to get on it. They're like, I get to. It's an opportunity to learn something. And this is fantastic. So every time life throws a curveball at you and new things emerge, don't be that curmudgeon. Don't be that crusty old dude who's like, man, in front of kids. And sometimes I exhibit those behaviors too. I'm like, TikTok, I just don't get it. What are these kids doing? Like dancing moves. Like, I just don't get it. That's fine.
Yeah, my
They can
kids.
dominate that. That's fine. Okay? So I need you to adopt to have a more malleable mind so that you can do anything. There's a neuroplasticity to your brain in the way that you think. Okay? These are opportunities for you. I heard that you say that you're really shy. You're probably some kind of extreme introvert like myself. And you said, I don't have what you and Tom have. I don't know what Tom has, but I got to tell you, I've had to grow a lot, go through a lot of pain to be the person that you see speaking to you. I've had a lot of self-doubt. I've questioned my place in society. I've had some self-hate,
True.
growing up. These are tough things. Now,
Jeez.
I gotta tell you something. The story of how you were born and the world that you grew up into was written for you, but the person that you get to be is a story you get to tell. So if you think about it, I'm from Vietnam, which isn't that far away from the Philippines, right? And if we say like, okay, Southeast Asian, there was a civil war. The people who left were the losers of that war. So now I'm not only just from a small place, but we are the losers of the war. We had to escape and we had to come to America as nothing, less than nothing. And people told me that too. But that's not the narrative I want to carry with me moving forward. I think I can be a world beater. I can conquer whatever domain I put my attention focus on. And I think to myself, I am the person that I want to be, and I keep working on that. So this narrative of telling yourself, who are you? You're not good enough. You didn't go to school. If you keep saying that to yourself, that becomes your destiny. And we got to change that narrative, right? Where you're born, into what circumstances, that was decided for you. Everything else is entirely up to you. Like, I grew up living in Northern California in San Jose. I don't live there now. I live by the beach in Southern California, working in an industry that didn't even exist, doing things on a platform that wasn't even around for that long. These are the decisions you get to make, man. They really are. Now, I want you to do something, okay? We can reprogram you a lot easier than you think. Jim Rohn is famous for saying something like this. If you want to know who you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so I was reading this book from Mari Smith, The New Relationship Marketing. And she's like, let's take this a step further. I want you to write down the name of the 5 people that are not related to you, that you're not married to. Write their names down on a piece of paper. Go ahead and do that right now. Everybody is doing this. I'll give you 2 seconds. I want you to write down their names. Okay? Whoever your friends are, man, woman, child, whatever, outside of your family that you're not related to, that you're not married to.
They're all family.
Well, then you have to go outside that zone. That could be a problem too. Tom, you got your names?
I'm gonna add Tom here.
Look, the 5 people that I want to be around.
No.
with.
The 5 people you currently spend the most time with that are not related to you, that you're not married to. Write their names down. Just write down their first name. Think about it.
All right.
All right, just write it down. Okay? I'll give you a couple more seconds. Everybody do the same thing. I'm glad you guys are asking me some questions here.
Jeez.
Okay. You got it? Okay. AJ's looking up, so he's got it. He started a little earlier than you, Tom. Don't worry, there's no quiz here. You got to write this down. And if you're having a hard time figuring this out, like, you could do this later. It's no problem. You could think about it. But for the sake of the call, because I can't talk forever here, right? Now, I want you to write a couple of things next to them. Okay? Write down whatever title or position they have in the world. Are they the founders? Are they whatever position? Are they the treasurer? Are they the art director? Who are these people? And then right next to that, I want you to write down what you think they make a year. I mean, don't write that on the screen, Tom, because we can see your screen. But AJ, you can write that down. Write down what you think they make a year. And it's okay if you're off by a couple of $1,000. Don't worry about it for the sake of the exercise, okay? Just write that down. And then, AJ, you look up when you're done.
I'll just
Everybody
have it.
understand this?
Then.
Yeah, you can write it on a piece of paper. You can write it on your computer. Whatever. Okay? And then I want you to total up the 5 salaries or income, and I want you to divide it by 5. And then you could decide if you're below average, if you're at average, or you're above average. But the more important thing that this is going to tell you is this: you probably need some new friends. Instantly. Right? So if you have a lot of friends who sit around and say, you know what, AJ, we're never going to get off this island. This is the best that we can do. Let's just focus on the OFW. Let's just try to do a little bit more than we did yesterday. That becomes your reality, right? It's like, oh yeah, guys, I'm going to write a book and I want it to be like a bestseller. And they look at you like, who are you? Who do you think you are, man? You didn't even finish college. You need to remove that friend from that circle list and add a new friend. This is where Gary Vaynerchuk says you need to get rid of one loser friend, and everybody has, I think, one loser friend, and you need to trade up. So you cycle out one friend after another until you get to a place where people are doing the kinds of things that you want to do. Now, there's an exception here. I didn't do this at the beginning because I don't want you guys to cheat. If you spend, like Tom might, a lot of time watching us, we would count as one of those 5 friends. See, because you're influenced by the people that you're around, how they think, how they talk, how they move in the world. And what they do is they leave all kinds of clues. You're like, oh my God, he's doing a podcast now? Oh my God, that's what he's posting on Instagram now. What are they doing? And you start to make that part of your narrative. And these people don't even need to know that you exist. I read books. I watch videos. I go to conferences and I speak, and then I meet other kinds of people and I get to hear their radical ideas. I also get to speak to owners of large agencies. I get to hear their perspective. I talk to people on the board of organizations. That's what you need to do. So AJ, you're going to have to go outside of your comfort zone here and actually go and meet some new people. And one of the best ways I can tell you right now to meet your heroes is to do a couple of things. Find out where they're at. The good news is social media helps you out. It's really easy. All you have to do is type it in Google. You find their Twitter, their Instagram, their LinkedIn, their YouTube, their blog, their web page, everything that you can find. Pick one hero, follow them on everything. Sign up for their email newsletter, comment on their blog posts. See, because they're giving you all the clues. All you have to do is pick them up. Jim Rohn, again, success leaves clues. Now, it's not a real conversation unless I mention Jim Rohn's name at least twice, and I've already done so. But I'm going to ask both you and especially Tom, have you read Jim Rohn's book? Have you watched his 2-hour video that he lectures for free on the internet? And chances are, Tom, have you watched it?
No.
No, I know you didn't. I know you didn't. So if you ever watch me do content, you know I mentioned this man's name so many times. So here's where I find problems with most people is if the person that you admire or look up to is learning from this other person, you got to do yourself a favor and do the genealogy of ideas and influence. You got to go back upstream to see like where the stuff is coming from because it's already been processed for you, right? And I know I don't like to eat baby food. I want to eat the real carrots. I don't want it to be processed for me. So every time I find something that's interesting, I read their book. If I love their book, guess what I do? In the back, they tell you all the books that influenced them, and they reference it right there. I jump on Amazon, I buy all the books, and that's why I have a massive amount of books behind me. And the books, I haven't read them all. They create this internal and external pressure on me to be constantly learning.
Right.
So while I'm sitting there, Netflix and chilling, I see this book list. I'm like, oh my God, I got to make a dent because it's not going to read itself. I have to do that. So you can unlock so much wisdom and knowledge in these books, but then you have to apply it. That's the critical part. You have to allow the ideas to influence your thinking and behavior so that you actually change. If you don't, there's no point. Okay? And books are the cheapest form of knowledge disseminated that I know of. One of the cheapest. Ebooks is a little cheaper. But I'm a tangible physical media guy. That's what I do. And if you can find the book read on one of these free services, I think Audible is one of them. Not free,
Audible, yeah.
but a subscription service. You can save even more money. If there's a library near you or 10 miles away, get on the bus, get on the train, ride your bicycle, run to it, and go rent some or borrow some books. Start reading them. Devour them. Take notes. It's what I do. So it's there. Like, so my books are my mentors, and the videos and the podcasts that those people produce become supplemental material. It's almost as if I have them in the room. That's what you want to do. All right. So I want to make that super clear and actionable for everybody today. You have to realize all of a sudden, if you're around a bunch of hoodlums, you become a hoodlum usually. If you're around a bunch of nurses, you usually wind up becoming a nurse. This is how these things work. We influence each other. We pull people into our gravitational orbit, and they get locked in, and we get locked in with them. And then in a blink of an eye, 10 years later, you're 10 years older, and you're asking yourself, wow, we're all kind of in the same place. Duh. So sometimes people need to leave physically their environment. They need to move out. They need to move far, far away so they can redefine who they are and who they want to be. Now, that might be something that you need to do.
Just to say to you both, right? There's a lot of comments happening just coming from the role play and AJ's bit here, and it's really resonating and hitting hard because, like, Juan and AJ being the real life kind of depiction of that, and same as me, a lot of people are agreeing that, look, yeah, that's true. And about the trading up of that one friend,
Yeah.
trading up that one friend, somebody said, what if you are that friend? Somebody,
hey, look, if you got to get rid of one loser friend, you're somebody else's loser friend. And that should put pressure on you. That should put a lot of heat on you
right.
to also bring up your game. To say, like, what do I have to do? Who do I have to become that the people that I look up to and admire would consider me and welcome me into their circle of five? Ah, that's really interesting, right? So I had a young intern for me, working for me. He's a Vietnamese guy, right? And when we would talk and he was working with us, making videos and editing, what's up, Jada, right? He would say, Chris, when you talk about Jim, were you referring to this or this? I could tell the kids read the book. Right. And every time I said something, he's like, oh, right. It's that person. That's Blair Enns. So he knew the references. So he could continue the conversation with me. And I was thinking, this is somebody I need to pay attention to. This kid's going to go somewhere.
Like, if we're going to talk about books, one of the things that I got onto because of you, actually, Chris, is Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. And that's why I was saying you're a stolen mentor for me, because that's kind of what he was also saying. Steal your mentors. They don't really need to know that they are mentoring you. If you consume their content, maybe a book or YouTube or videos and stuff. AJ, has this been helpful? Is it helping you think through your process?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not a big book person, but I'm more the video guy with maybe some podcasts. But video is where I steal my heroes and my mentors.
Yeah, for sure.
The Tom Billios of this world, the Vaynerchuks, and I've stolen them all.
Great. So you use whatever works for you. I think audiovisual usually helps people to remember more. There's something about the written word when I look at it and I study the sentence structure and how they phrase things, and I get to sit there and stare at it and reread it. It penetrates me in a way that sometimes videos do not. Videos can distract you with color correction, maybe the way that they speak, because spoken word is sometimes a little bit different than the way people write, right? Good writers try to write like the way they speak, but most people are very sloppy in the way they speak and the way they construct sentences because it's done in real time. All you have to do is look at the transcript of a live video versus one that's been written and memorized. They're very, very different. So something to think about, right? I aspire to be a great public speaker, to be an entertaining person and a personality. I was just watching David Chappelle and I was studying his movements, his cadence, his pause. When he would say a joke that he knew the audience was going to hate him for, he walked towards the back of the stage like, I know, you're going to hate me. He turns his back to the audience. And then when he gives them enough time, he turns around and is like, I'm not leaving. I'm coming right back at you. Right? And he has these expressions that he'll do that disarm the sharpness of the joke. So these are things that you study. I talk to people about this all the time. It really doesn't matter what kind of things you consume, but what matters is how you consume it. Are you hitting pause? Are you writing things down? Are you screen grabbing? Are you studying how many edits and the body language? What are you doing? So we're all given the same amounts of like lemons, but I'm going to give a little bit more juice out of mine than people would just look at it and just kind of like, okay, there it is. I'm going to use the rind. I'm going to use, the zest. I'm going to use the juice. I'm going to use the pulp. I'm going to use all of it. And I'm going to squeeze every last drop out. And that's what you need to do. Not you, AJ, specifically, but people who are watching this, okay? Because there are different levels of learners.
There are. Some enjoy videos better. Some enjoy reading better. Ebooks as well on Audible. But like, guys, like, thank you so much for this, all right? AJ, Chris, I think this live became very real for a lot of people in terms of how they see things and how they need to do stuff and execute. And I wanted so much to break down the what AJ was doing on Instagram and Facebook and stuff, but I think we've really gone over time here. And I know, Chris, it's like you've gone past your dinner.
I have.
So like we'll just end here. I'm just gonna ask Chris to kind of give us all a parting shot, and then we're gonna wrap things up because it's getting late for Chris. And thank you so much for doing this, by the way, Chris. Parting shot from Chris, everybody.
What do you mean parting shot?
Sorry, just your last bit of like encouragement for everybody watching and going.
Yeah, you got to set that up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Sorry,
What do you mean parting shot? Speak now. I'm not a trained monkey.
It's like all
What are we doing here?
It's all the feedback I'm getting from Chris making me so nervous. I'm watching
Come on, Tom.
every
Pull
step
yourself
right.
together here. All right, let's try this, okay? All right, I have no idea what I'm doing, so this is going to be ad lib, impromptu. So here's my parting shot. All right, guys, I hope you found what it is that we talked about today to be helpful and useful to you. One of the things that I think that everybody needs to make a deliberate practice of is if you watch a video, if you read a book, pause for a second and ask yourself, what did I learn? What was most useful? And just write down 2 or 3 things. What's really cool about the way that the brain works is only the most important part, the part that resonates with you, will you be able to remember. You're not going to remember all the little details. So write those big ideas down and ask yourself this other question. Why was this important to me? And what kind of action can I take today or tomorrow to apply what it is that I've learned? Because knowledge is useless without application. You have to apply it. And I hope I wasn't too harsh on Juan here. But really, I think I just need to take some people and shake them up a little bit and give you that just really stern kick in the backside to get you on the right path. I'm going to close it out with this. You are not defined by your past. The future is what you make it.
Ooh, the future is what you make it. And awesome, man. Like AJ, Chris, thank you so much. AJ, I have a bunch of ideas in my head now because I realized I need to hang out with you more. And hanging out with you also, dude. Like just a whole bunch of stuff, dude. So thank you so much. And everybody who's watching, I hope you picked up a whole bunch of stuff. As you are saying on the comments, we've noted down your questions and I'll get you an answer. I'll figure it out. I'll find it from Chris's content and respond to every single one. Chris, thank you. You have a nice night. AJ, have a good lunch. Peace, everybody. Follow the channels, and I'll see you the future. AJ, Carve, everybody.
Dude, you got to work on your close out there.
Yeah,
That's
so
a really
long,
long close out. Oh my God. Someone
It's
get the hook and pull him off stage. Yeah, let's just. Bye, guys. See you later.
I see you.
Yeah.